This Hangout is on air, and we are in the heartland of America here in the Chicago region. And it is a phenomenally warm autumn, and we're promised a very balmy winter. So that is something that is making this year very celestial for many of us. How are you, Barrett?
I'm doing all right, Chris. So yeah, it was nice having a good turkey meal last week in lieu of our talk. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was wonderful. I had a house full of people, and we had turkey and ham and all the accoutrements. And I picked up a pumpkin pie from Baker Square, and when we were there, I noticed they had carrot cake on the menu, so I grabbed a carrot cake. And I think in the future I'll bake my own carrot cake because I have the original Waldorf Astoria restaurant recipe for carrot cake, which is absolutely sublime. But Baker Square carrot cake was just overkill on so many levels.
Mm. Sometimes there's nothing like home cooked.
Absolutely, and you know that carrot cake. It was loaded with shredded carrots. It was a huge amount of raisins, which I'm on board with that. I love raisins. But it was like 4 or 5 layers, which means that between each layer you've got frosting, and carrot cake demands, cream cheese frosting. So by the time you pile all of that stuff into a big heap on your plate, it really creates almost a crisis in your mouth. And I'm sure your brain goes into that static region where it's just like, what am I eating and why? So, but isn't that the way the ego operates in this realm? Is it tries to seduce us to gluttony and tries to overload us with distraction.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth, Chris, because I was just going to say it sounded like the ego version of carrot cake. It's like ego always wants more. It's never satisfied. It never is feeling like it is sated. It's always needing something a little bit more, something a little bit different. And I think our culture here in the U.S. is often like that, where we're wanting more, we're wanting more, wanting more, and we have that saying, bigger is better. Well, what is that saying except for what we have now is not good enough? And that's basically the ego story that we hear in so many different ways, whether it's in carrot cake or, all these different things we see.
Yeah, we have cultivated a consumerist society, and but again, I think that there is always that essence in society as a whole. It once the pack or the tribe or the herd gets attuned to something, then there's always the stampede phase, and it reminds us over and over again that the ego itself really is incredibly empty, because we're always trying to fill it with something. We're always trying to make it something of substance, and it's just a fruitless and unending journey for all of us who are in pursuit of that.
Yeah, I think the good news is that in each and every moment, each time this comes up for us, we also get that chance to say, I really want peace instead. I want happiness. And then maybe we still have the 5-layer, carrot cake, but we do so from a different perspective. And it doesn't have that sort of gnawing hunger associated with it. And that way we can, still enjoy the dream life that we're living here, but we have the experience that we're not dependent on it to kind of give us that sense of happiness. And I think that fits right in with the lesson that we're doing today, which is in the Manual for Teachers, and we're continuing on with number 12. How many teachers of God are needed to save the world? And there are a lot of really, really good points in here. Um, and basically, when he asks, why do we even need the illusion in order to awaken? And he has the line here, a voice they understand and listen to, without the fear that truth would encounter in them. Do not forget that truth can come only where it is welcomed without fear. So do God's teachers need a body, for their unity could not be recognized directly. So I think this fits into the idea that the course is kind of a slowly learned curriculum, that we go step by step. We're not asked to jump all the way into the arms of God. We just need to let go of whatever resistance we're feeling in this moment, whatever upset or challenge that's confronting us. And I think if we stick with it, and that's one of the big, attributes that we need to have as students, is persistence. Sometimes it might not look like we're really doing a great job or forgiving very easily, but that is really less important than our willingness to just keep going, to just keep returning to this right-minded place every time some sort of challenge comes up our way.
Exactly. It's an ongoing, not resistance, but it's that ongoing redirecting our consciousness, because the ego is very seductive and it has all of its toys and all of its battles. That's one of the things that we get trapped in over and over again. There's always a challenge, and we're always the hero of the dream, and we're always going to go and slay the dragon and rescue the damsel in distress. And in reality, all of those things, all of our crusades, all of our investments in trying to fix the world and trying to salvage the world and restore the world are pretty much just a way of staying engaged in the ego's drama. And we have to be able to step back from that and merely, acknowledge that the dream has got problems and do whatever we can in the moment, but always looking for guidance from the Holy Spirit as to what it is that we should be doing. And that leads us into that central part of this particular dialogue in verse 5. It says the central lesson is always this: that what you use the body for, it will become to you. Use it for sin or for attack, which is the same as sin, and you will see it as sinful. Now, this is where it really, really gets interesting. Because it is sinful, it is weak. And being weak, it suffers and it dies. But, going on the alternative vibration here, use it to bring the word of God to those who have it not, and the body becomes holy. Because it is holy, it cannot be sick, nor can it die. When its usefulness is done, it is laid by, and that is all. And that really is, a beautiful vision of, instead of being on life support for 3 months while your body is rotting in a hospital bed, the idea of having that communication from our higher consciousness saying, well, it's time to move on. You can just step out of the body very gracefully and step into wherever it is that you are needed next in the journey of life. And because there really is only one life, we imagine we have all these lives going on, but really it's just one life with, wake up, fall asleep, wake up, fall asleep. And it would be nice to perhaps step out of that trap.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it looks like there's 7 billion bodies here on this planet, but that's actually just an illusion, because as you're saying so clearly here, Chris, there is just one. So we have this truth of oneness, and we break this oneness into this illusion of multiplicity. And the illusion of multiplicity carries with it this idea that, we're kind of alone. and we're not able to maybe do what we need to do or go where we need to go. There's challenges or struggles, and ultimately we come to see that all of that is just a story. And there's a beautiful section in the Course called the hero of the dream. And the hero of the dream is always the body. All of these adventures or misadventures of the body are what the drama's about. I mean, if we watch a drama on TV, what's it about? Well, the central character is a body. Good things happen to the body, bad things happen to the body. And as we get sucked into the drama as we're watching it, it reinforces our idea that the body is what we are too. And ultimately, we're coming to see that that's just not the truth, that what our true identity is spirit. And this is pure oneness, it's pure love, it's synonymous with God. And as we step into that, then our identity starts to shift. And this is really one of the purposes of the Course, is to help us to root our identity in the truth, as opposed to rooting it in the body, which is fallible, which is mortal. And because it's time-bound, it's not what we really are. So as we kind of wake up to that, our experience starts to change.
Exactly. Yeah, it is, that idea of awakening comes up over and over again in the Course. And it comes up in, most philosophies and spiritual themes around the world. But the next part of the Course here has an interesting passage also. Awareness of dreaming is the real function of God's teachers. They watch the dream. Figures come and go, shift and change, suffer and die. Yet they are not deceived by what they see. They recognize that to behold a dream figure as sick and separate is no more real than to regard it as healthy and beautiful. Unity alone is not the thing of dreams. And it is this God's teachers acknowledge as behind the dream, beyond all dreaming, and yet surely there is. So that unity that is our true heritage and is the true space that we occupy, no matter where we are, whether we're in this world or some other world. It's that we are challenged to remember, and that is the whole journey in unto itself. So we have to recognize our oneness, and in the process of doing that, every sickness, every illness, which is really merely a thought or a misdirected thought, is going to be corrected and healed. So the true journey of awakening is a very profound process of stepping out of pain and sorrow and stepping into a new level of empowerment and existence that the dream cannot completely obliterate from our minds.
Yeah, and I like it. I like that metaphor of kind of the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. That it's the next step in that part of life's evolution. And as we step into what we really are too, it's like stepping into being a butterfly from being a caterpillar. It's a much better type of existence. We can fly and we feel more free. And ultimately, as we start to feel that, we're watching this dream, as this paragraph that you just read said, then we can feel like we're not really as affected by the things that happen here. We can still enjoy the good things, but we're not as bummed out by the negative things. And it's inevitable that in this life, some of those negative things are going to come in. So the question is, how do we want to be in response to that? Do we want to feel devastated? Do we want to feel like, it's the end of life? Or do we want to know that, we can just continue on, that when things happen here that are bad, that it's no worse than when we're watching a movie, and like a horror movie in the theater. It looks really bad, but if we're believing it's true, it is pretty awful. But once we can step into seeing that it's not actually reality, then all of a sudden we can find a more peaceful way to be with it, and we can probably still be as helpful, or if not more helpful, because we're not as emotionally kind of tied into what's happening there.
Absolutely. And interestingly, as you mentioned the caterpillar butterfly metamorphosis, my mind went to the caterpillar who clings to being a caterpillar. And of course, we all know what that involves. He has his hookah and he's puffing away and having pipe dreams. For those of you who don't know where the word pipe dreams comes from, it's all about smoking a little opium and having these extended dreams. You used to go into these opium dens in San Francisco and all over China and New York, around the world. All the major cities had them, and you would see dozens of people, and they would be passed out and dreaming for 10, 12, 15 hours, wake up and buy another little hit of opium and go back into the dreams. And boy, that seems like, you know, a very powerful image for life in this world. So do you want your pipe dreams, or do you want to actually start to step into that process of becoming the butterfly? That is the question of the day.
That's right. We got to quit that junk.
I think so, yes. And it's so prevalent all around us. You know, everything is a temptation, and we're always trying to resist temptation. We're always either dieting or fasting or purging, or, you know, and then 6 days later we're back on the wagon, or back on the bandwagon again, doing something else. So if we just stop putting so much attention on our physicality and directed all of our effort to our spirituality, the transition would happen very easily and happily and painlessly. And I think that's the best part of it all, is to make it as painless as possible.
I like that idea. I like that idea. Yeah, drop the pain, right?
Yeah, the pain is not a good thing. And I deal with a lot of people who are in immense amount of pain. And, you know, I keep my Facebook page updated with a lot of stuff, just because so many people are in pain and they need a positive thought. But really, it is still a conscious choice. We have to stop choosing pain.
Yeah, sometimes I think about our attachment to pain in this kind of graphic way. Like, I imagine like a curling iron that's on and it's hot, and for whatever reason, it's like we're holding our hand on that hot curling iron, and it's like, well, why would we do that? You know, and the answer is because we're not really aware that that's what we're doing. It doesn't feel like we're the ones that are grabbing onto the pain, that we're hurting ourselves. But ultimately, that is always the case, that we're the one that has the power to, again, loosen our grip around that curling iron and let it go, so that we can find peace instead. And most people would say, well, I'm not doing that. I wouldn't choose this suffering. But we come to see as we study the Course that there is no exception to this, that pain is always, that suffering in any form is always ultimately attached to our choice. And it's not that we're always consciously choosing the pain, but on a deeper level, that choice is being made. And it's the choice to believe that we're not already whole with God, because that's the idea that we're away from heaven, that we're away from happiness. And what is suffering but the belief that we're apart from our truth? So we start to see more and more clearly that, you know, that's not really what I want. But in order for us to see that, we do need to see the mistaken choice that we have been making. So it's really a process of coming into this understanding again and again and again, and choosing right-mindedly, choosing to say, yeah, you know, I'm putting that pipe down. I'm tired of that dream. You know, it might seem beguiling for a bit, but it always ends up, you know, in the sad place. And and we don't need to keep going down that road. And whenever we're ready, we can make a better choice instead.
Exactly. And one of the things that it always ends up in, uh, watch this one, Barrett. This is going to be a good segue here. One of the things that it always ends up in is sacrifice. We always end up at the end of this road that leads us, to that place of encountering the guillotine and having to endure sacrifice. And that's kind of a smooth transition into this next subject that we're going to be addressing from the teacher's manual, which is chapter 13, what is the real meaning of sacrifice? So next week, you guys are going to definitely have to tune in and join us for this, because sacrifice is something that the ego makes seem so noble and so desirable and so empowering. I sacrificed, and so, you should revere me. You should be on your hands and knees at my beckon and call. And we definitely have something that's going to be fun to explode, exploding the myth of sacrifice.
Nice. Well, I like that smooth transition, Chris. It's a sign of a high quality episode.
Well, it was one that finished up some unfinished stuff and opened Pandora's box for the next big adventure. So in the interim, Barrett and I are planning on doing some things after the holiday season is wound down. So we're looking at January 3rd for our next Course in Miracles connection here. And we hope that you will start preparing your calendar so that you can join us.
I think it'll be a great way to kick off the new year. And I think just remembering all these messages as we head into the holiday season even more deeply, because a lot of times, these can be challenging times, even though they're also happy times. And it's like everything is sort of highlighted a little bit more. So when those tough times come up, remember that there is a different way. And I think just remembering that thought by itself can kind of help us get on a different track. So I'm sure we'll be talking about that more over the next few weeks too. But as we have kind of finished off this Thanksgiving time and are moving into the winter holidays, I just want to express again my thankfulness for you, Chris, and for everyone here who's listening and watching. This connection has been really valuable for me, and I just really appreciate that.
Well, and I as well. Yes, it's wherever two or more of us are gathered together and joined in that sacred union, it optimizes our existence exponentially in all directions. So yes, you are a blessing to me as well, as are all of our viewers, and we will step away from the Thanksgiving part to the adoration part as we acknowledge the Christ consciousness as never left the planet. It's always there within all of us.
It's born within each of us every moment. So I hope everyone has a great week, and I'll look forward to talking with you again next time, Chris.
Yes, you have a fabulous week as well, and go out and dance with the stars.